If you've watched a Major League Baseball game this season, you may have noticed the innings seem to fly by much quicker than maybe you're used to. And that's because the MLB's newly added pitch clock is shortening games on an average 31 minutes. And whether you're a fan of the sped up game or not, some teams are concerned that the quicker pace leaves less time for fans in attendance to grab a cold one, which is why 4 teams so far, Diamondbacks, Rangers, Twins, and Brewers, have decided to extend alcohol sales through the 8th inning now instead of stopping at the end of the 7th, which is standard across the league. And this is controversial, so here now to jump in with us on this exceptionally American conversation about baseball and beer is Eric Mitchell, president of LifeFlip Media. Eric, good to see you. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Natasha. This is a great topic, let me tell you. Baseball and beer. Where can we go wrong?
It sounds good to me. I mean, Eric, let's start with the pitch clock. Love it or hate it?
I'm not a fan, but I'm a traditional. Yeah, I love the game, so I love to keep it traditional. The pitch clock seems odd, like, because we have it in basketball, right? The shot clock, and then we have the running clock going in the NFL. It's just new, so I guess we'll get used to it, but it's definitely different watching baseball this season.
I mean, I'm not a fan of change either. I can definitely sympathize. But let's talk about the beer aspect. With the quicker pace of this game, 4 MLB teams deciding to extend alcohol sales an extra inning. This is controversial. Help us understand why.
It's controversial because everybody's so used to the 7th inning. That was it, right? Beer sales are shut off. Even if they went extra, the beer sales remained shut off. But keep in mind, through the first 2 weeks of the season, we're seeing the game shortened by 31 minutes. And that's an all-time record low. Dates back all the way to 1984. So games are shorter. Beer sales are, it is important. They're also major sponsors of the teams. If you look out in any outfield, you'll see a beer sponsor out there. So 4 teams went ahead and decided, hey, we're going to extend this into the 8th inning. Of course, right here in Texas, we have the Rangers who are doing it. You mentioned the Diamondbacks, the Twins, and our friends the Milwaukee Brewers, which it just makes sense for them to have beer probably longer than that inning. But keep in mind, this is controversial because there's also concern of drinking and driving, which is major, and you should not do it. You should also learn how to consume alcohol and then make sure you're not drunk before you get in a car.
I mean, Eric, let me ask you about that, because I know Philadelphia Phillies pitcher Matt Strom, he was one of the people to come forward and express concern that selling alcohol later in the game like this is simply going to lead to drunk driving. I mean, what are the conversations that you're monitoring that are taking place about this?
That is a big concern of even the players, right? We want the fans. Everybody understands the money aspect of baseball, like any professional sports. But we also, it's hard because we're telling adults to act like adults and maintain their own, like, hey, police yourself. Make sure you don't drink too much before you get in your car. And, at the end of the 9th inning, because the game is over sooner, you've been able to drink an additional inning now. But keep in mind, why we're worried about this, other teams have been doing this. The VIP seats, they have restaurants and clubs that go on after the games where alcohol is consumed and served. It's just, I totally understand both sides of the coin. I am concerned as just somebody leaving a ballpark. I don't want to deal with a drunk driver or drunks out in the parking lot.
I mean, who among us does, Eric? And I do want to point out, like, apparently we're hearing in Chicago, there are owners of sports bars that are next to stadiums who say that the shorter games are actually helping their business. Fans are getting 1 fewer beer in the stadium, and then they're going outside and spending their money. But while we have time, let's talk about football for just a moment, because the NFL is reportedly testing a new type of helmet now. It's specifically for quarterbacks. How would this be different than your standard helmet?
Well, this helmet is actually going to protect quarterbacks like Tua, who you and I have talked about more than one occasion this past football season, to protect these quarterbacks that are taking these dangerous hits that leave them on the ground. Now this is the first time they've released new helmets. Remember, linemen and linebackers have new ones. I was actually talking to teammates of Tua just the other day, like a week ago, and we were having the conversation about concussions, and he was excited. He's a linebacker for the Dolphins, and he says he's excited about this because guys like Tua taking these headshots, these helmets are going to hopefully protect these quarterbacks. That's what we have to do, because we can't have these other rules with tackling and the quarterback and all the protection that's there, but we got to protect their head, because we don't want, you and I definitely don't want to be on air talking about Tua with another concussion or another player taken off the field, and we're hoping for their safety. These guys have brains and they want to live long. These helmets are here to protect. This game has become increasingly dangerous with players big and hitting really, really hard.
Yeah, we want to see them live long. They do. Their families do. All of it. Before we go, your pick to win the NBA championship.
That's a tough one after just walking away from the Bucks game with injuries. I'm going to go out and I'm going to say the Sacramento Kings.
Sacramento Kings, you heard it here. Eric Mitchell, always good to see you. Thanks so much for your time.
Thanks, Natasha.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.